Hi everyone, it is Sarah Shipton from Scrapbooking with Sarah coming live to you on Tuesday, 21st August 2023. We are doing a take two because this morning my live video only recorded the first 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So I am going live for a second time today in our Facebook group. But hey, at least I've had a little bit of practice this morning. And here are some stenciling samples that I prepared for you earlier. So I literally did this video and was talking to no one for the remainder of the video time that it was recording. Shout out to Susan who sent me a text message afterwards to let me know. So thank you all for your patience. I'm going to be sharing some techniques with you today that involve Distress Oxide ink and stenciling. So let's get right into it. You can see that these are some samples that I've prepared earlier. And in this week's scrapbooking challenge, I have done some stenciling borders down the bottom of my scrapbook layout. Now, the reason I wanted to share this technique with you ladies today is because in this month's featured workshop scrapbooking kit, the Cozy Up collection, you are going to do some stenciling and some distressing with the oxide inks on your scrapbook layout. In your scrapbooking kit, they actually give you a little stencil, which is super cool. So the thing that I love about this is that you get this stencil in your kit. I'm going to pop this on the white scrapbook paper here. So you can see you've got some leaves, you've got a border pattern with a diamond, you've got a pattern, another border pattern with some dots, and you've got some little circles here in the inside of your stencil. Now, the reason why this is really fun to get this in your scrapbooking workshop kit is that you can get a little stencil and you can try before you buy, because there are a whole heap of other stencils that we have available on my website. If you head to my website and in the search function just type in stencils or the word stencil, you'll see all these other stencils come up. So I love that in the scrapbooking workshop kit, close to my heart, give you a stencil so you can have a play around with it and you can see if it's something that you would like to incorporate as a technique in your scrapbook layouts. So I'm going to share with you the 3 scrapbooking layouts that I have created with the Cozy Up kit. So this is layout number 1. You can see we've done some Distress Oxide ink here and here, and also here and over on the side here. And then we have sponged over the top of that Distress Oxide ink with this diamond pattern here using the stencil that you get in your scrapbook workshop kit. So that is super cool. That is layout number 1. Layout number 2, using the stencil that comes in your kit, you can see that I've done some autumn leaves here, and we've also traced through them with the sepia pen. So I'm going to be demonstrating that technique to you today as well. And then on the 3rd layout, you're not going to do any stenciling on the 3rd layout, but I wanted to share it with you because the colours look beautiful. This was a perfect autumn day celebrating Darren's 50th birthday at Lazy Ballerina up in the Adelaide Hills. You can see the autumn trees and the leaves here. It was perfect for my scrapbooking layouts. So I hope we are all live and working okay. I am just going to post hello here to see if it pops up. Make sure we are live and it's recording okay. I'm just going to check my Facebook to make sure that it is recording while I'm talking here, because it is not posting any comments. Yes, we are cooking with gas. Okay, I just wanted to double check that to make sure we were all good and we were live and recording on Facebook. Okay, so they're the 3 layouts in the scrapbooking workshop kit. let's do some stenciling. Now, as I showed you, we have got some samples that I prepared for you earlier. So let's get in and have a go with that. So what I'm doing here with my White Daisy cardstock, I'm just going to pop that over the top of my Versamat. I have got my masking tape here that I am using to hold my White Daisy cardstock in place. Oh, I need to press that down a little bit harder. Now, the really cool thing about this masking tape is you can pop it over your stencil, and how it works over the top of your stencil is it keeps your stencil in place while you are doing your Distress Oxide ink. Now, I mentioned in the video this morning that I used my mini ink blending tool to do the Distress Oxide ink. This actually sold out over the weekend, so it has since retired from the range. There's a couple of you that I will need to make contact with that were at scrapbooking workshops over the weekend. So the mini ink blending tool and then the mini ink blending foam applicators have retired from the range. So what I'm going to do today is demonstrate this technique to you using the blending brushes, because the blending brushes are part of Close to My Heart range. They're currently out of stock at the moment, but we have more supplies of the blending brushes coming in August. So stay tuned for that one there, girls. So what we're going to do is we are going to pop some of the Distress Oxide ink down onto the White Daisy cardstock. I'm going to show this to you close up because this is the one I've done earlier this morning. We have actually popped the Distress Oxide ink over the top, and then we have sprayed that with the water bottle to make sure that the ink actually what it does is it becomes reactive when the water hits the ink, and then you can see you end up with this really cool splattering technique once it's dried. So this one here only had a very little amount of the water that we sprayed on the top, and these are the ones that I did earlier this morning. So we're going to pop our cardstock down, and using our Distress Oxide ink, it's a good idea to have some scrap paper on hand, because the difference between the Distress Oxide inks is that this is like a pigment ink, okay? So you'll see here, it's really thick, it's quite chalky, so really great quality ink. And our normal ink pads are actually a water-based dye ink, okay? So you would use this just for your normal stamping, your sponging. This one here is reactive to water, so when we spray that, you get that really cool spray technique effect. Now we've got a number of Distress Oxide inks available in the range. If you head to my website and under the shop tab, you'll go to the inks and colouring section. These are some of the other colours that I have. These are a third-party item, so Close to My Heart will be retiring these products. This is a third-party product, so it's developed by another brand. We just happen to be stocking them. The Distress Oxide ink in Spice Marmalade is the colour that you are going to use for this month's featured artistic technique with the Cozy Up Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. This one is currently out of stock because obviously everyone's ordering that at the moment to do with their scrapbooking kit, but we are getting another shipment of this back in before the end of August. So if you don't have this colour and you want to add it to your list, we can definitely get that organised for you. So what we're doing here with the Distress Oxide ink is you want to, now as I mentioned before, this is a pigment ink, okay? So it is quite a wet ink, and you'll see that when I put that first dab down, you want to get that excess ink off first before you're doing the distressing on your actual cardstock page, okay? So imagine this is the base page of your scrapbook layout, and you're just working the ink over the top there of your cardstock base. Now, if you wanted to wet that so it becomes reactive and you get this really cool splattering technique here, you want to grab your little spray bottle with your water in that, and if I spray over the top of that like so, and then I'll leave to sit that to dry, you can see that starting to react with the water already, okay? This is one that I did earlier this morning. You can see that's dried, and then I have put my stencil over the top of that with the toffee ink. So let's use this one here. This is the one I did earlier this morning, which we popped some water over the top of, and that has dried off. So we're going to get our stencil, and we're going to put this stencil over the top like so. Now with your masking tape, the masking tape is going to go over the bit of the stencil that you don't want to get ink on, okay? So I'm just going to cover up these leaves here so I don't end up with any ink on that part of the stencil bit. I'm using my water-based dye ink, so we've got 40 colours of the ink pads in our range, and I've got my round sponge here. This was round. I've cut this into 8ths, so you end up with all these little wedge pieces, and I'm just going to be dabbing that into my toffee ink, and then I'm going to sponge that over the top of my stencil. Okay, so depending on the depth of your colour, how thick you want that to be, I'm just going to move that down a little bit more, because then you end up with this really cool technique where your diamonds are actually meeting into one another, so it creates like this pattern over the top of your scrapbook layout like so. So when you look at it like that, it's kind of like, oh, it doesn't look really cool on your page just like that. But when you add your die cuts and your stickers and your embellishments over the top of that, you can see that this Distress Oxide ink with the stenciling over the top just creates a fun embellishment and a unique embellishment on your scrapbook layout before you then decorate that with your die cuts and your cozy up dots. So that is super cool. You can see that we also did a border effect with the small dot border. So we've ran that across the top of our open square. Again, using your stencil. I'm just going to peel that top bit off, and we're going to pop that just underneath there like so. Pop that down there and there. And then using my blending brush, I've still got a fair bit of ink on there, so I'm just going to dab that very lightly in there. And we are just running that over the dots. Using the blending brush. I do think that the blending brush, you get a I think you get a better blend with this using the blending brush than you did the mini ink blending tool. And the reason why close to my heart is getting rid of their third-party products is it's a lot easier for us to control products that we manufacture ourselves as opposed to ones that we get in from a third-party company. So that is your Distress Oxide ink with your sponging over the top. Now I'm going to show you how to do these leaves, girls, because this was super fun. And what we are doing here is we are going to pop our stencil over the top like so. I'm just going to fill in this blank space here, and we are going to hold that down there. And this one here at the top. And what I'm going to do is grab some more ink up. I'm just going to dab that excess off, and then I'm going to colour in over the top of these leaves here. Oh, you can see that one's very bright. I didn't dab the excess one off there. So the thing with the Distress Oxide ink is the more you, like the harder you press, the brighter your colour will be. And then if you don't get that excess ink off as well on some scratch paper like I've done here, when you do that first blend, it's going to be a very deep blend. It's a pigment ink, so it's a lot thicker and chalkier than our water-based dye inks. And the technique that I am, or the look that I'm going for here, you can see we've got that on our scrapbook layout. So I've popped my leaves on, and then we're going to run these stems through the middle of them. And how I've done that is using my sepia Le Pen. And very clever, all I've got here is my 3D foam tape. So I want that rounded edge. I'm going to line that up with the end of the leaf, and just using my 3D foam tape, we are going to create a circular, or a semicircle I should say, stem to go through the middle of the leaf. Very clever to come up with that. Nothing terribly exciting, but how cool does that look, right? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, you can see here I've gone a little bit off the edges with my stencil. So that's where you want your masking tape. And if you're really fussy about that, you could run your masking tape the whole way around your stencil so you don't get any off the edges at all. In some instances, I just made sure, you can see here that I was super careful with it. I've run a little bit off the edge here as well, but no one's looking that closely at my scrapbook layout that they can see that. And if it bothers you, then, you know, you've got this situation here where you can pop a sticker over the top as an embellishment to cover up any mistakes that you feel that you have made. So that's the fun thing about crafting, girls. There's always room to fix your mistakes or cover them up. You might recall that I posted our weekly challenge yesterday. I did have my stickers here. I've actually lifted my stickers up and moved them. I have torn the paper slightly, so I'm actually going to cover that area with some white daisy cardstock so that's not as noticeable now. And you can see here I have cut 1/2 inch of white daisy cardstock here. You can use the Distress Oxide ink to do your stamping, and then I have sponge around the outside of that for the border. And then here I've used my stencil to create a stencil border along the top and the bottom of my journaling box, and then I've sponged around the outside of the journal box as well. And to do my stencil down the bottom here, we have created, I've demonstrated this earlier this morning, but once you have a play with the stencils, if stenciling something that you want to get into, then pop on the website, search the word stencils. You will get scrapbooking stencils come up, you'll get card making stencils come up. This particular stencil I'm sharing here with you today has got flowers, and we've got one with a window frame, and then this one has borders. So you've got a put this a bit closer, you've got a dot border, you've got a heart border, and you've got like a dash border through the bottom here. And what I've done here to do my border, I'm just going to grab some more white daisy cardstock. Oh, I've left that in the other room. Okay, we will make do with what I've got here now. I'm just going to take these bits off here. So with your masking tape, the thing that I love about this masking tape, you need quite a bit to stick it down, but the thing with the masking tape is it's repositionable and it doesn't tear your paper. I was using masking tape like just from Officeworks, but then I realised that when I pulled it up, it actually tore my pattern paper and my cardstock. So this particular masking tape, we've got on my website, the code for that is Z4606, Z4606, yes, for the masking tape. So let's get this around here like so, and we'll get some masking tape down on the cardstock here. This paper's curled up from this morning, so it's making it a bit trickier to keep that down because I've been spraying it with the water, so it started to... So when you're spraying with the Distress Oxide ink as well, girls, you only need a very light spray. So you want a spray bottle with like a little mist end or mist nozzle. You only want a really light spray of that water. Okay, so let's get the stencil. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop this stencil along the top here as if we were going to do a continual border on your scrapbook layout. Okay, so we've got our Distress Oxide ink. I've got my scratch paper here. All right, so I'm just going to get that excess ink off to start off with. And then we are just going to blend that in like so. Oh, hold that down. Okay. So depending on your pressure and how firm you press And don't be worried if like some of the areas are really dark and then some of them are a little bit lighter, as you can see here. It's kind of meant to give it that effect. You know, the really cool thing is you could do that on the whole base of the white scrapbook, the White Daisy base page, and you can end up with like this border, pattern border underneath there. Don't be alarmed if like some spots are really dark and some spots are a bit lighter. It's kind of meant to look like that. And I will point out, it might be hard to tell on the camera, but this end here this morning, I actually demonstrated this using the blending brush. And then this end here this morning, I used the mini ink blending tool, and 100% the blending brush gives a lot more of a smoother finish. Because these bristles are so fine, they really do get into your stencil parts quite well. So you end up with a really nice smooth border and technique on your scrapbook page. So that is playing with your Distress Oxide inks. Distress Oxide inks are on the website. Stencils are on the website, girls. The Cozy Up Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. That particular stencil here is exclusive to the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. So you will need to invest in that kit if you want to use that particular stencil. Otherwise, there's a whole heap of other stencils on the website. Blending brushes are coming back in stock. The sepia pen to do your stems for your leaves, and then the round sponge and the toffee ink to do your diamond and dotty border effect. Really fun day today. Thanks so much for watching, girls, and thanks for your patience from the video this morning. I look forward to see what you create this week for the weekly scrapbooking challenge.